Welcome to Recently Logged. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Hi.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
No, I wasn't talking to.
Whoa,
talking to you.
Oh, dang.
I was talking to the good folks at Recently Logged Incorporated.
Recently Logged Incorporated? When did we incorporate?
Well, it's the test audience at Recently Logged Incorporated.
Yeah, when did we incorporate?
Well,
I don't seem to remember this.
We incorporated a bit ago. We got a big location out in
got a warehouse.
Yeah, a big warehouse out in the middle of nowhere.
It's not good for recording though because of the acoustics.
We bring big test audiences there.
We do live playthroughs of the podcast episodes.
Yeah, and then if they don't like it, then we completely scrap it.
Oh, so, yeah, okay.
For all of you normal listeners,
that explains our erratic upload schedule.
Exactly, because sometimes we just have to scrap the whole thing. So you can thank the test audiences that Recently Logged Incorporated.
I like the idea that we house all of them there or something. We make enough revenue off of our YouTube channel that we can afford to buy a warehouse and manage a company where we house at least 100 people.
Thanks to viewers like you.
Hey, go follow us on Spotify so we actually can get money again. We used to make money. Well, we didn't make money. We used to get money.
We spent more than we made, but it's fine. Anyway, welcome.
Anyway, here we are.
This was a long... everyone's clicked off at this point.
My name's Robin.
And I'm Micah.
And we're talking about movies yet again on Recently Logged.
Continuing a series of movies.
Yeah, we are this time.
Another big, long series. This time, this is entry, what? Six? Yes. The sixth entry, in which you already know what we're talking about because you've clicked on the episode.
What if it was just a shuffle thing? What if it auto-played to this?
If you didn't click on this, we're talking about Alien Covenant.
Talking about Alien
the
Covenant.
The most recent Alien movie, the last Alien movie we hadn't seen,
and
the last Alien movie we had not talked about on the podcast.
Absolutely. Came out the same year as Phantom Thread, Micah.
Well,
that's very recent.
Yeah.
In my mind.
I do remember when Phantom Thread came out.
It's funny. I have a very vivid memory from when I was younger of seeing a giant Alien Covenant display at one of the theaters we went to. It was huge.
It's pretty sick.
It was towering.
Was it huge, Rebby, or were you tiny?
Maybe I was just tiny. But it was a cardboard thing. I don't remember if it was 3D or not, but it was a big cardboard display for this. And I'm like, that looks so scary.
Or he's like, oh no, not a scary movie.
Well, because I was only vaguely aware of what Alien was, and I saw
when did this come out?
I saw the Xenomorph. It came out in 2017.
Yeah, you were...
I don't know.
Apparently, I was more conscious, even though I'm younger, because I remember this and being like, "Oh yeah, it's an Alien movie."
I didn't know what Alien was. I knew about the Xenomorph kind of, but I saw the main poster, but it was this giant cardboard display, and I saw the Xenomorph sticking out. I'm like, that thing looks terrifying.
The poster is pretty frightening. If you actually look at it, the poster's
pretty awesome, honestly. One of the coolest things about it.
Yeah, look, you got the thingies, and you got a face hugger on one of them.
Got the Neomorph, the Xenomorph, the face huggers, all of the humans, and I don't remember if the engineers are on there or not.
I mean, that looks like an engineer.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, I'm pointing at stuff you guys can't see.
You can't see it. Go look at the Alien Covenant poster.
It's pretty cool.
You can see all the cool details.
This has been such a weird intro.
Indeed it has. But before we go into the basic facts of this movie, I want to go ahead and announce the winner of our last giveaway that we did. On our last episode for the Alien series, we covered Prometheus, and we were giving away an HDX digital redemption code for the movie.
Yes, we were.
And we opened up a whole Google form, and then we closed it on the date we said, and then we didn't send out the code on the date we said because this episode got delayed. So but we will be sending it out. If you're listening to this right now, that means
the code has been sent.
The code has already been sent. So yeah.
But the winner of the giveaway is Brian. We're not, there may have been multiple Brians, but if this is the Brian, you know because you got an email.
You'll know because you got the email that you
But
want.
thank you for everyone who entered in. we're going to do another giveaway for Alien Covenant. You might have
noticed in the title of this video that there's another giveaway.
So if you want to get more details on that, look in the episode description or notes.
Yeah.
Or wait, and we're going to give some more information in it later.
We'll have a whole segment telling you how you can enter to win Alien Covenant and the whole dates and everything. So yeah, thanks again to everyone who entered. It was cool. I liked the fact that we could actually do a giveaway of the movie we were covering. I think that's pretty cool.
But yeah, thanks to everyone, and especially Brian. We hope you enjoy Prometheus.
Hope you enjoy.
We enjoyed Prometheus.
Yeah.
So maybe
go listen to the episode again.
Enjoy Prometheus.
Go listen to the episode again before you watch it, maybe, or maybe after. I don't know.
But let's get into the basic facts.
Let's do it.
Alright, so again, we're talking about Alien Covenant, which is a 2017 film. It is rated R. It is 2 hours and 2 minutes. Its little IMDb description is, the crew of a colony ship bound for a remote planet discovers an uncharted paradise with a threat beyond their imagination and must attempt a harrowing escape.
Harrowing escape.
It's a harrowing escape.
They didn't mention that their ship was named, Covenant.
Well, they don't...
It's just implied.
I don't know. The cast features, as always, for specifically these two movies, Michael Fassbender, Katherine Waterston, Billy Crudup, Danny McBride.
There you go.
Demián Bichir, I think. Bichir? I don't know. And others. Because that's really the main cast, which is surprising. It's not a huge main cast.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a smallish ensemble on this one.
It is directed by the one and only Ridley Scott.
Indeed.
It is written by Jack Paglin and Michael Green.
Okay.
And screenplay by John Logan and Dante Harper.
Very nice.
So
Very nice.
Lots of writers going around.
What?
I know this movie had lots of drafts here and there, going every which way. Is there anything you wanted to shout out for, Rebby?
From the production side?
Anything production-wise?
I don't think so. I didn't look at the cinematographer or anything for this one.
Cinematographer is Dariusz Wolski, perhaps?
That's my best guess.
And which, he did the cinematography for Prometheus and The Martian and the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. But I do think it's notable that this movie does have quite a bit of a distinct stylistic difference in the way it's shot from Prometheus, which almost surprised me.
A lot less formal than Prometheus.
Yeah, it almost surprised me that it was the same cinematographer when I watched it.
I am a little surprised, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it has the same composer as Prometheus as well. I'm trying to find that real quick.
I believe so. I listened to the score while I was getting all the stuff together for this episode, but I don't remember if it's the same composer. I want to say yes.
Typically, I would already have it by now, but there are so many credited people.
You got the horizontal scroll bubble thing on Letterboxd. That's funny.
It is not.
Interesting.
It is Jed Kurzel.
Yeah. The Assassin's Creed guy.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed, Babadook, Nightingale, Overlord,
Interesting.
The Pope's Exorcist. So it's a much more horror
it is.
Score.
The score is a lot more horror oriented, which the whole movie is compared to Prometheus.
Which is one of the things I wanted to check to see, is why I wanted to check to see, because that also has a pretty distinctive sound from Prometheus.
Yeah. Although we do hear the some of the compositions from Prometheus
which
here.
Sound amazing because Prometheus' score is insane.
It's great.
It's phenomenal.
I love it.
But yeah, I feel like a couple other things we could mention. One of the things I think is interesting is that this was originally planned to be a trilogy.
Yes.
And then for a second, it was going to be a quadrilogy. And then this movie performed poorly. So it just never happened.
So it's just a Prometheus duology, I guess.
Yeah.
At the moment.
So I can't think of anything else super notable that they need to know.
If they're completely unfamiliar with Prometheus, it's a prequel to the original Alien quadrilogy, Alien, Aliens, Alien Cubed, and Alien Resurrection.
Yeah, so in timeline order it goes Prometheus,
these two movies
Alien Covenant, aliens,
exactly,
and so on.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I need to know.
All right, then let's get into what we actually think of the movie.
Let's do it.
All right, so Robbie,
yes,
what do you think of the hit, except for not so hit, 2017
maybe flop would be a better
alien movie, to describe this. Alien Covenant? What are your thoughts if you could sum it up in a basic fashion?
Alien Covenant. It's kind of a mixed bag for me. I really like David as like a central figure for these two movies, and I think pretty much all of his stuff here is like kind of awesome and cool and definitely worth a watch. Like if you're hesitant to check out Alien Covenant, if you liked Prometheus at all, I would definitely recommend this. It's a bit stylistically different, but if you liked David as a character, I think you're really going to enjoy Alien Covenant.
Definitely.
So I really liked him. I like the new crew to a degree, but a lot of their stuff feels a little like half-baked, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't really enjoy a lot of the cinematography, like visual choices in this one. A lot of it feels too digital for me, like for my taste, and the jittery like shutter speed changes and like choices in lighting sometimes can just make the geography very muddy. The visual mapping for a lot of the like action sequences is almost like incomprehensible sometimes. And it just, I don't know, anytime there's like a grand moment in this, it usually like just kind of pulls my attention away from it when I should be just enjoying it.
Yeah.
But generally I like the movie. I think it's pretty well made. I think the first, 30 to 40 minutes of it are pretty fantastic, like pretty much on par or better than anything in Prometheus. So yeah, I don't know. It's fun. I like a lot of the ideas it brings up, but there are just a few technical things and a few like ways that it's kind of stilted that I didn't really like. But, generally I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Should I say my rating now, I guess?
Yes, that's the idea.
Okay. I rated it a 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
What about you, Micah?
Before I get into that, I actually did. You made me curious, or at least I made myself curious on the whole flop thing. And in the U.S., it actually did lose money.
Yeah, I figured.
Honestly, it ended up worldwide gross, pulling in a profit, but I'm sure domestic. Yeah, they lost money.
Yeah.
So yeah, they weren't green lighting 2 more of these, unfortunately.
I can so easily see this movie like not performing well at a box office.
Well, they lost a lot of their audience with Prometheus not being anything like people thought it was.
It's not really an alien movie.
This one is like such an alien movie that like, but then nobody watched Prometheus, and Prometheus is kind of integral to Alien Covenant. So
I was about to say, it's very funny that like Prometheus kind of, like anyone who liked Prometheus probably wasn't going to love Covenant as much, and anyone who hated Prometheus wasn't going to bother to see Covenant.
Exactly, and nobody could watch Covenant really without watching Prometheus, so it was really a rough situation.
Yeah, but for the circumstances, it's a pretty good movie.
Yeah, I was about to say, so what I thought of it, I really like Alien Covenant. I like a lot of its choices. I like a lot of its unique aspects in the series. I actually really like the idea of it kind of taking the alien visuals in a little bit of a different direction.
Yeah.
I love how gory this movie is.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
super
I didn't even
bloody.
mention the gore.
And it does that. It does it in a nice digital way that looks really clean because the technology was there for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that it is probably the sloppiest alien movie, even sloppier than, because I wouldn't say Resurrection is sloppy. I would say it's bad.
Sloppy. It's just very ill-conceived, I think.
But this actively feels just kind of sloppy. Even from the beginning of the production, it was in a rough spot, getting major rewrites from what the original idea was from a Prometheus sequel, and then it just things kept getting changed. Even towards like last minute, things were getting changed. and there's like it kind of reads through that as you watch the movie. There's a lot of character beats that seem to go nowhere.
Yeah,
there's some choppy and weird editing choices.
There's some just bad editing, like outright.
Thematic strings are left blowing in the rain.
Yeah,
it's kind of, and all of these ideas that it's throwing around are interesting.
They are interesting,
but it just doesn't feel nearly as solid as really any other Alien movie, which is impressive.
Yeah.
But I do really like the cast, and I like how it looks, and I love David. I would watch a million more movies about David and Walter and other David Walters, and just give me 50 Michael Fassbenders doing different accents.
Exactly. Dude, his Walter voice is so funny.
It's amazing. I
love it.
But yeah, at the end of the day, I really like it, but it definitely is not as strong as it could be, or as I was hoping it would be.
Yeah, especially with, like a couple people I know on Letterboxd, like they're like, yeah, it's not perfect, but like it's really fun, and I just didn't have that much fun. I had fun with it.
I had fun with it more on a first watch than a second watch. Yeah, though. I was kind of caught up in being kind of baffled with it on a first watch.
Right, it's a very
watch, you know where it's going.
It's a very like bonkers kind of movie.
But I gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Okay, there you go. Only a half-star difference.
But yeah, let's get into a little bit deeper discussion. That was our just brief thoughts. Do you have a question to kick us off into our deeper thoughts?
Sure. Yeah. What do you think of the introduction of Walter and like the Covenant crew and everything? Because like this series is filled with different like ragtag space teams. Like that's its whole thing.
Yeah.
Usually with Ripley.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you mentioned that because this kind of shows some of the shaky ground this movie gets off to with its introduction of its crew.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think this is the only Alien movie in the entire thing. Now, it's not the only Alien movie that doesn't like fully introduce you all its cast like immediately. I mean, if you look at like Alien 3 and stuff like that, like you get introduced to cast later. It's not all just crew, but those are the movies. I was going to say those are the movies that don't take place like on a ship.
Mm-hmm.
But out of our ship movies, like we always get like a very clear introduction, and even in those, we like know all of our characters. We get good introduction. Like even in 3, which is like the most ensemble-y to the point where it's hard to tell people apart. Like I can look at characters from that and be like, yeah, I know this guy. I know his story.
Yeah,
I know what he's up to. In Alien Covenant, you don't really get a good sense that you're seeing the entire crew, because you just don't. There's like 15 crew members.
Yeah, well, the Covenant is like this huge like repopulation kind of ship where there's like 2,000 people on it. Like obviously they're not all like crew mates like awake and walking around doing stuff, but like you have like these main sets of couples and also a couple other people peppered in there occasionally.
So like, but there's 15 active crew members.
Yeah.
And even then you don't meet them all. I don't know who some of them are.
Right.
They're like,
you'll occasionally see someone in like the back, like just standing there in one of the scenes. You're like, I don't know who on earth this person is.
And like you though like get to the planet and there's like the military people, because there's always like some military
more combat people.
But usually, like, it introduces them. These, like, in this movie, you have no idea who those people are. Like, you're aware that there were more crew members, and you guess that, I guess, these are just them.
Yeah.
But there's no character introduction. I don't know who they are.
They're not, since they're not part of, like, the core set of, again, like, couples.
It's, like, 4 or 5 people who actually have much strong characterization in the movie.
Yeah.
And that's really... unfortunate, and even those couple
characters, it just feels kind of sloppy. Honestly.
It feels like disingenuous to like the style of movie that Alien movies are trying to do typically.
Well, again, the whole part of the whole appeal for Alien as a franchise is it's like working class sci-fi people essentially. So when like the working class people in your movie become almost faceless themselves, it kind of just undermines a lot of the identity of the franchise thus far.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's like actively like terrible.
No, it doesn't like
it just
drag
feels a little
you away,
weird.
but like as a character introduction set list, like this is easily the worst of any of the movies.
It's very weird, yeah.
And even the characters that we do get introduced to, it's so brief on their introductions. It feels like it is, and I think that's partially a good reason. I'm sure the editors did make a choice for a reason for cutting the introduction, to be kind of slim because this movie does drag in parts. But you can actively feel like there may have needed to be a bit more with some of our crew members, especially like you mentioned while we were watching at this time, Walter and Daniels. Just giving them some more interactions and making it feel more like a crew on a ship. In this instance, it immediately goes like, you see Walter, you're like, oh look, he's just like David, and then boom, and where, and then people are toasted,
people
like they're like, all right, no time to talk, go fix the ship, and then immediately they're like, oh, we got the signal, oh, what's this? We got to go to the planet. Immediately they split up, and like then you really get into some of the meat of the characters. But it's after you've split your crew and you've done all these different things. You've
done a lot of legwork at that point, and I was just kind of like, putting my trust in the filmmakers that like, okay, I'm sure we're going to get to know these characters eventually. And we kind of do. But not all of them. And, I don't know. Yeah, the characterization in general is just kind of weak. There's actually, I was going to bring this up, there's actually a deleted scene that they released, I think, as a promotional thing. Called The Last Supper and it's the scene of all like the main crew members like just like talking and eating their last dinner before they go into cryosleep. And it does help add a lot of characterization to a lot of them, and I'm like, I kind of wish this was in the movie, guys.
Well, that's what I was saying before with it feeling kind of like an actively chopped up movie. Is there are points that you really feel like and some of the deleted
like there's just something
like some
missing.
of the deleted scenes reveal as much, or some of the things that you hear talked about in script changes and stuff like that, where you're like, oh, they were going to do something like that, or they were going to have a scene like that, but it was taken out.
Which, I don't know, the Last Supper sequence, actually, if you watch it, like, it's really terribly edited, and like, I wouldn't want it in the movie in the form it's in, like, that I watched it, but like, I do wish we had something kind of like that, because I feel like that would do a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to actually getting me invested in the crew of this one.
I mean, I'm not trying to make it sound like we needed, like, everybody to sit down and be like, hi, I'm this character, here is my dynamic. I mean, look at the original Alien movie. It does a really fantastic job of getting you to know all of their dynamics and like all of who they are without even saying much dialogue. Just with a couple, like, them waking up, getting a meal, and just kind of going about their initial duties after waking up.
No, it's a lot of the legwork in Alien, like the first one, is just in small exchanges, which is nice. But we don't get a lot of that here.
We don't get a lot of small exchanges, which is very odd. You'll get like an Alien movie.
People like you'll get like the captain like making this speech, and then someone will say like one thing, and they'll respond, and then that's it. Like that's like the whole scene. No, not great. But again, not like movie ruining.
No, it's not a big thing, but it definitely leads to a lot of like the feeling throughout that you're just kind of missing the meat of what the movie should actually be about.
I kind of felt like the first time I watched it, like I was just waiting for the actual movie to start, when that shouldn't be the case for an Alien movie.
And it's actually really funny because we were losing our minds laughing at this on a first time around.
It's insane.
Because it feels, and it's writing, and the reason I mentioned this now is, come to think of it, like one of the big things is it does have like that poor kind of character introduction leans into this feeling, is we swear, and I still swear, it feels like fan fiction writing.
It really does. And I mean it contains a lot of the tropes of fan fiction, which is so funny.
A really fantastic fan fiction, to say the least, but it feels like fan fiction, even in the fact that like it's just kind of breezing past the character introductions, because it's not as important in fan fiction always to have like, oh, these big solid characters, because it usually is resting off of tropes and just wanting to get to the actual action of whatever's happening.
I was about to say, a lot of fan fiction generally is more concerned with its ideologies and like, again, like tropes and forms and iconography of whatever they're writing fanfic for.
Not inherently, let's get this really
make a really good story about these characters.
And it does that, and it's just so funny because it keeps that kind of feeling where, because you also have this thing, so with Prometheus not doing well, I mentioned this in the basic facts, with Prometheus not doing well, originally they were going to take this movie in a very different direction, and it was going to be called either Just Paradise Lost or Alien Paradise Lost. I don't remember.
I think it was just Paradise Lost, was going to be the title.
Yeah, and it was going to be, again, very similar to Prometheus in style, where it's not really that connected to Alien. It would continue the path of David and go more into the engineers, and it would show you some more as like the aliens theoretically move to a next stage. Because even if, like, you know, in Prometheus you don't have any xenomorphs, but you start to see the stuff that will lead to the creation of xenomorphs.
Yeah.
And it was originally going to be much more like that, much more about the engineers and everything. But
which would have been awesome.
Because Prometheus didn't do well, they sat down and they were like, well, if one of the biggest complaints they heard about Prometheus is like, oh, it's an alien movie with no xenomorph.
No xenomorph.
Where's my xenomorph? Where's my alien stuff? So in this one, they were like, well, if that didn't work, let's try and make this an alien movie.
It's so funny to me how like receptive Ridley Scott is to what people say about his movies. I don't know why. That always tickles me so much.
Yeah, I don't know, because he seems like such a closed off guy. Right? But yeah, it really
He's like, I really wanted to give the fans something.
Fans have a lot of influence over his work,
it's
genuinely.
So strange, yeah.
But because of that too, while you're watching the movie, so much stuff feels like fan service and like weirdly worked in, like alien references. Like at one point there's the little bird drinky thingy because there was one in the original Alien. Like it's not set up anywhere else towards the end of the movie, and then it's just in one of the last
like
shots.
These, like it's like a push-in shot to establish a change in scene. And he's just sitting there in the middle of the room.
Yeah, and you're like, what? And it's towards like it's in the last like 10 minutes of the movie.
It's so funny.
And it's just stuff like that that you're like, what? Why?
Yeah.
And it adds more to that kind of fanfic feeling of like, this is not something like you would think would be the decision they made. And then, man, following that line of thought, you could also get into talking about David in this movie.
Well, I originally asked like what you thought of Walter, so if you wanted to talk about David as well.
I'll say I have to remember just the crew introduction. I missed the
I was like, what do you think of Walter and the crew?
Oh yeah, well we'll get to
and you're like, the crew.
This is a good transition, Robbie, trust me. But David in this is like fanfic David, which is great. I love him in this. Good. He's so fantastic. I would take like a million more movies about David like this.
Just doing evil stuff.
He's like weird and he's all like scrunkly, and then like he's
singing. He's singing songs.
He's singing songs. He's playing the Prometheus score on his little recorder.
Oh yeah.
He's got this one moment, and like there's this shot of his face reflected in a mirror while he sings. Well, and it looks like a distorted kind of like Greek painting.
It's so good.
It's so funny.
I love it.
And it's so much. Good.
I love every single scene David is in this movie.
And then there's really strong with Walter. Really strong like gay undertones.
There's a lot of like vaguely homoerotic stuff, more so than I think any other of the Alien movies.
And I mean, it's even culminates at like, I mean, David ends up kissing
this isn't
Walter.
Just like us like projecting. It's a part of the movie.
Yeah, David ends up kissing Walter, but it's just so funny because that's exactly what like a fanfic would do.
It's so strange.
With introducing David and Walter. It's not even like that's a bad
feels almost
decision.
On the nose. Yeah. But like it kind of works in the context of the movie, but it feels just so fanficky. Yeah. I can't get over it.
And there's like an epic fight between David and Walter at one point. It's like framed and shot really like, whoa,
this is crazy.
This is the big showdown you've all been waiting for. Or something like that. It's just so like they're not bad decisions.
No, they're not.
They're just weird ones.
Just weird.
So on a first watch,
it's fun to watch.
Yeah, on a first watch, we were having a blast. At least I was cracking up at this movie.
No, I think I definitely had more fun with it the first time.
Yeah. But speaking of David and Walter, before we get into David, because I was going to ask what you thought about David as a whole big question, but Walter is a very interesting character in this.
Very cool addition to something that I personally wouldn't have thought of adding to like a Prometheus sequel is like a new line of what are they called?
Synthetic.
Synthetic, yeah. A new line of synthetic for like a new mission on the Covenant.
Still using the David design, just a different kind of model, which is interesting. Yeah. And like his use of the use of his character to kind of parallel David while showing like kind of where David has kind of branched out, while also posing a lot of its philosophical questions about consciousness and life and gods and stuff like that. So I think really like the best part of this movie is David and Walter.
Yeah.
I think where you kind of lose it some is kind of a little bit the Walter Daniels stuff.
Again, there's a lot of like deleted stuff that helps set up their like quote unquote romance a lot more, and like just generally their relationship that they have in this movie, which I think is really interesting. Yeah. And watching the deleted stuff, I'm like, I kind of wish this was in the movie. I can see why they cut some of it, but like that characterization, because it's like mentioned in passing a lot of the time, and we really only get like one or two substantial scenes with the two of them like just talking to each other.
Yeah, which I think
it's very strange. Yeah,
but where it gets really interesting is especially once you get into David's little lair and like you get a lot of interesting conversations. I think like literally I think the most interesting stuff are any of the scenes in the movie where it's just like David and Walter discussing stuff in his little David cave.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree.
Again,
that's when I'm the most engaged.
The scene with the recorder where David is teaching like Walter how to play and having him create something for the first time is a really, really interesting scene. One of my favorites in the movie, actually. Yeah. It's also pretty funny, but
it is.
But it's very, very cool. And I think Walter is, like, in general, a pretty fantastically implemented part of the movie.
Yeah, no, like I said, generally, I think Walter and David, I think they're, like, the most well-written and well-thought-through part of the entire movie. Like, a lot of the weird, like, stilted stuff comes from, you know, like the Covenant ship, that crew, like
and the way
some of the weird finale stuff that happens.
The way they interact with the themes going on in the movie.
It's a bit weird. I honestly, I would have just taken like Walter like investigating the planet that David is on. No human character.
Yeah, as a side tangent.
That would be so funny. That would be so good.
As a side tangent for that though, because I should have mentioned that with the rest of the crew. But for a good example of like what I mean by like they kind of feel disconnected themes wise and also just cut up, is if you look at the captain character. Not James Franco who gets torched.
That is the funniest cameo ever.
That is his best James Franco role. He gets burned up in the first 5 minutes.
You see his stupid little mustached face enclosed in the little like cryo sleep jumper, and then he just burns.
But the captain that takes over, his character is really baffling to watch on screen because it seems like they're going for a very like Prometheus era kind of discussion and theme with his character where he's like, oh, you know, the crew doesn't like me because I'm religious.
Yeah, I mean, they have another like explicitly like religious believing character like in Prometheus.
Yeah, they're like the character like they didn't trust me to captain this because I'm religious, which for one I think feels a little weird coming right off of Prometheus, where the head scientist of the Prometheus was
had a
cross and wasn't like a Christian or anything, but believed in some form of God and was religious.
Some form of God, yeah.
So, like, it's weird for him to be this paranoid about his religious beliefs when you see nobody else even mention it, and that's where
that's what's weird.
Not a single other person brings up his religious beliefs, and nobody cares.
He has, like, this weird, like, persecution complex almost.
Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere, but they're not even doing anything with the fact that he has a persecution complex, because that's a fine idea to include as well.
Yeah.
Which would actually play in, at least somewhat, to the idea of David wanting to and viewing himself as a god.
Exactly, yeah.
But, like... as is, it just kind of is there.
It just feels tacked on.
He's just like, oh, they don't trust me because religion.
Yeah, you get that line.
At one point, he's like, and he's with David and one of the neomorphs. And like, it's really, we were talking about it this time around because I thought about it the first time, but I figured, oh, it'll come back later.
Yeah.
But it's this line, that does not come back, is never referenced again, and makes just no sense. Like, it's a fine line, but like you'd really think it would tie to something.
Well, and the thing is, he's so vaguely characterized outside of that.
Yeah,
like we don't get anything else about him.
So it's like during this intense moment with the neomorph, it's just eaten one of the crew members, and he's got like the captain's got the gun pointed at the neomorph and David and whatever, and then he shoots it, and then he's like, David's like, oh, why'd you do that? He trusted me.
He trusted me. Yeah.
And the captain's like, David, I met the devil once when I was a kid, and I never forgot him. And
just completely out of nowhere.
That's what he says.
It's so
He's
strange.
like, I met the devil once when I was a child, and I'll never forget him, or never forget his face, or something like that. And that's, I get it.
No idea.
Like, I kind of get it, but like at the same time, I don't.
It goes almost like
no idea what they mean.
Unexplained.
I know what they mean, but I have no idea what they mean. Because it doesn't reference anything else, and I really was trying to piece together,
just like try to find a through line,
like a through line with his character, because again later David's like, oh, they're waiting for something with the eggs when he leads the captain into the egg room, and the captain's like, what are they waiting for? So I figured that might like try in somewhat thematically to they were waiting for faith.
Yeah,
but I don't really see how that works, because again, like they're waiting for somebody with faith, because he was the character set up as somebody with faith.
Right, like that's his one defining
attribute. But it doesn't really make sense. I couldn't think of a single thing for that making sense, when again the line explicitly does literally mean he just needed a human host because he was all out of humans on the planet.
Right? Yeah, no, it's very strange. And then like there's this cool moment where he's like, David, what do you believe in? And David's like, creation. And then like,
and that's a good line for David.
Yeah, again, like it's a cool development for David, but it's like the captain is such like a nothing character.
Yeah, and it's like, again, that's actually a really cool beat for David, because he like looks up to the sky like, oh God, and then he's like, I'm God, because creation.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a cool moment for a little evil villain David, which is fun.
Yeah, no, that beat itself is like really cool, again, from the perspective of like David's arc.
I was about to say, heck, even the I met the devil as a child line is really sick if it had some context behind it.
Again, a very fanfic thing to do.
Yeah, it's like a one-liner or something. Like, you're like, oh, did you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? Kind of a thing. Like, what are you talking about?
But yeah, no, the captain, not great.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty like
one of the sloppiest things about this whole thing.
Good thing to mention for talking about kind of the crew and the reason I would say they're sloppily implemented.
Yeah, that's a good example though. Like you'll get like really, a characteristic of one of them, and even a lot of them you just don't get.
Yeah, anything. I was about to say, outside of Tennessee,
you get Tennessee, Daniels
and him. Nobody else gets more than like a couple lines of characterization.
Yeah, you get like a lot of their like partners and everything like on the ship. You'll get like a sense of their dynamic, but not really what their whole thing is.
I was about to say, you'll get a sense of maybe their relationship dynamic, but you don't get a sense of who that other person
like
is.
Who they are, yeah.
I have no idea. Like, in fact, at one point, I felt really bad because it makes me sound like misogynistic, but I kept getting their wives mixed up because I was like, who are you?
No, I don't think. Yeah, it does sound misogynistic, but
because I wasn't that familiar with how they looked because they weren't on screen for very long, and they have nothing like. They have no characteristics.
A lot of the characters are just like in the background of some of the shots. A lot of the time, out of focus or obscured.
Exactly. So they're going back and forth with all this equipment on, talking over headsets, and I'm like, wait, you're
no. I kept getting characters mixed up, not just the female characters. I got the male characters.
Well, there's just there aren't very many male characters that are like important. Even on screen for very long. Yeah. So like it's not that I was just like, oh, specifically like the females, but like outside of Tennessee and the captain, I mean, the other male characters are just kind of over
I mean, like
there.
You have the other like co-pilot guy in the, but again, I don't know his name.
Yeah, but just him, and the rest are just soldiers.
Yeah, just like faceless soldiers, so, like, basically.
I know the wives more than them. Yeah, but like again, I just don't know anything about them outside of Tennessee, which you get some decent characterization for.
Yeah.
Daniels, which you get quite a bit.
She's like the lead of this one, essentially, if you're not counting Walter.
Yeah, and the captain.
Yeah.
Those that's That's it. That's the only people I know on the Covenant.
Yeah, it's very strange. And again, that wouldn't be a big deal if it wasn't such a big part of the movie. You know, like that's like the meat of the movie, essentially.
The progression of characters and the way the characters interact with the setting and the themes is the story.
Yeah.
The way they react to the neomorphs and the xenomorphs is the story. It's not...
I was about to say, the stuff with David is like half of the movie,
I was about to say,
and the other half is the crew of the Covenant like landing and then having to escape.
Yeah, the actual plot essentially is the crew of the Covenant.
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff with David is just kind of the macavity of the Alien movie. For all of you Cats fans.
Oh my gosh.
He's not like inherently like the plot. The villain is not the plot, but he does come in and he's like
he's a big part of the movie. Yeah, like he creates the big scary. I guess it's a xenomorph at the end.
I think that qualifies as. Xenomorph.
Yeah, it's probably a xenomorph.
The little pale guys are neomorphs.
Yeah,
and
neomorph.
The little guy was I think it starts with an O.
Something
like an onmorph or something.
Omnimorph. I don't know.
No, not omnimorph. Like an onmorph or something. I
don't know.
I don't know, man. You get the names all over the place. They don't say them in the movie.
No.
So,
but like he creates like the big bad like xenomorph that starts killing everyone at the end. But like he's not like the focus of the movie primarily. Like he's like half of the movie again, I would say.
But yeah, so because so much of the movie and it really like is led by this crew. Not knowing but like 3 of them barely is not good.
It doesn't make for it makes for a lot of like dry sections of the movie almost where you're like just waiting to get to another David scene or just waiting for like something interesting to happen.
I wouldn't even say that. I wouldn't even say dry because so much is always happening.
Like there's always something happening.
It's just weird. Like, it's a weird feeling.
I don't care about it.
Yeah, exactly, because so much is always happening. But you don't really care about the characters, like the character who gets like backbursted.
That's
I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah, no, I have no clue.
Even in Alien, which you don't really know that much of. What's his face? The first guy.
I don't remember his name.
Remember the guy of the first name. The guy. The name of the first guy. I cannot say that sentence. The name of the first guy who gets chest bursted in Alien. But even him, you have a decent sense of who he is, a little bit of his character dynamics. You kind of feel for him, and because you're not expecting it to happen theoretically, like it works a lot better than like midway through your movie having a character you've barely seen.
He's been in like 3 scenes.
Get like this really
maybe in the background,
time-consuming like gory thing, and it's a cool scene, don't get me wrong. I think it's a very, very sick scene. One of the coolest like little alien birth scenes. I love the attacks after it too. It's super duper bloody and gory.
It is very bloody,
and like I think it's like the bloodiest scene in an alien movie, and that's sick with the super white clinical background, and there's just pools of blood everywhere. People are slipping in it.
That visual is very cool,
and there's guts, and it's great. But I don't know really who any of those characters are. At least on a rewatch, I had some tension on the fact that was Tennessee's wife, the one blonde lady. I was like, yeah, he'll be sad when she dies.
Like, I don't know. I do appreciate, that's actually something I forgot to mention in like my general thoughts. I appreciate how gnarly this one is. Like it's probably the bloodiest, guttiest of the Alien movies that I've seen.
It has a lot of that kind of, it has a lot of Alien 3's like veracity. Is that the right word?
I don't know if that's actually
I don't know if that's that. I swear there's a word that I mean that's like
ferocity?
That. No, like maybe I'm getting my words mixed up here.
But like would it?
But you know what I mean, right?
Just like violence.
No, like not even just violence, but like the way the violence is actually framed. So maybe I'll make up a word.
But like something veracity. More brutal than
because veracity is not a word, and it sounded wrong the moment I said it. I don't know what I'm thinking.
I don't know what word you're thinking of.
I don't know. Anyway, that kind of if you remember the actual attacks whenever they did happen in Alien 3, they're very like fast and extremely gory compared to a lot of the others. It's this big punchy blood.
Yeah, you get a lot more like smashing people's skulls in 3 than you do in the other movies.
Yeah, and this was kind of a very reminiscent of that kind of style of Alien stuff. Like it was very quick, but like extremely kind of brutal and like punchy. You really felt when one of the aliens
it's meant to be very visceral in this one.
You really feel like when one of the aliens like
yeah, I don't know. A lot of the sequences, as cool as they are in theory, I just the almost weightlessness of the CGI xenomorphs in this and neomorphs it just doesn't land for me. I just kind of tune it out.
I understand the weightlessness because I really don't like how all of them feel like they're as light as feathers and they could float around.
They just they just feel like they're just doing whatever. Like I don't really care.
I don't feel like the action itself feels weightless in my opinion, because like, man, thinking about like even that scene when we first get the big xenomorph and he like just pops the guy's face in half. I think that's like a really cool like beat, and I feel like you really feel that.
But like,
and there's a lot of moments like that where the xenomorphs just like tear into people really fast, and I really like am like, oh,
I wish I felt that, man. That was one of like my biggest like disappointments when I first watched it, is I was like, I really want to be there more for the action stuff, and I'm just not. I wasn't the second time either. I'm like, the wide angle lenses are cool, but it's just really undercut by the jittery like weightlessness of everything, like the shutter speed choice and the way the creatures move and like the way they're like lit and everything. It just I don't care about it. Like I appreciate how brutal it is, and I like a lot of the ideas, like the guy getting like his jaw slashed off, like, and like even the shower.
Whoa, I was right.
Yeah,
veracity.
Oh my gosh, I didn't say you were wrong. I'm just saying I don't know
the quality or state of being ferocious.
Okay,
ferocious, having a huge appetite, or ravenous.
I know,
I was correct.
Okay,
you had me second guessing. Veracity.
But yeah, like what was I saying? Even the shower sequence, like I admire it more on a conceptual level than like actually watching it, thinking like it's like, oh, this is like really scary and like, again, viscerally attacking.
Well, to be fair with the shower sequence, I think that is one of the stupidest sequences
it is really
in the
dumb.
Entire thing, because it's set up as a scene that is not the kind of movie we're watching. That is like a scene that would work really well in like Alien, not this movie, because Alien is I
don't know how it would fit tonally in Alien. I could see it more for Aliens, maybe.
I don't even know, but what I'm saying is like Alien uses its horror in a very slow kind of again, because
you get a lot of slow build up to something.
When your xenomorph is just a guy in a suit and also very big, and his entire original appeal of being a kind of scary monster man is that he's slow, but sometimes he moves really fast, and he could be anywhere.
Well, the whole thing is he's like really sneaky, so he can like just come up on you really fast.
He's going through the vents. He blends in with the ships. That's like his thing. This is not that in this movie. This is like, blur, it's attacking you fast.
Yeah, this is like, I don't know. This is like those quick zombie things, like from different zombie movies and stuff. Like they're just jumping at you and clawing your eyes out really quickly. Like it's not nearly the same levels of like dread of being attacked. It's just like, oh no, something's jumping at me. Like,
yeah, so it's a very different
style
of horror.
Well,
it's a much more action style horror. It's not actually building up as much tension.
It doesn't manage its tension even as well as something like Aliens, which is also more actiony.
Yeah, but what I'm like building to there was that like the shower scene is specifically like a framed as very traditional horror scene.
Oh my gosh.
But also, this was very funny. So in the rated R box for this movie, you have sexuality / nudity. So I looked it up, and it's like, oh, there's like a sex scene in a shower.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay,
whatever.
That's pretty normal for an Alien movie. I mean, there's a sex scene in Prometheus.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, whatever. But then we're watching.
It doesn't seem like it'll be out of place.
We're watching Alien Covenant, and you're going. And if you remember, like I said earlier, the movie just goes. The movie gives you no time. Nope. It just gets into the plot. And I'm sitting there, and as we're getting like past the hour mark and then past the hour 30 mark, I'm like, who is going to be having sex in this movie?
You get like people burning alive and like being torn to shreds. It's like, in what circumstance would people want to have
like sex? in Prometheus, they're like
it's during the slow quiet moment.
Well, not only that, but they're like, we made it to the planet. Yay us. Like they're
accomplished
celebrating
their mission like halfway.
It's really a sweet moment of their dynamic. And
it's meant to be very sweet.
There's nobody.
There's no setup.
And there's everybody's dying. Everything's horrible. Everything's bad. They're on like the creepy genocide planet.
Like a bunch of their friends just died. Like
then you randomly cut to two characters who we do not. I mean, I'm sure their names are said.
No, we do know them.
We do not know these characters.
Like, they're part of the main like group, but like we don't
really know them randomly
that well.
And in the last like 40 minutes or so of the movie, it just randomly cuts, and you're in the shower, and they're like in there being all sweet, and I'm like, what? And then it has this horror scene, and I'm like, what? Who wrote this? Who put this in?
It's just so
It makes no sense to be that far in, but it was so funny watching this the first time and be like knowing it was in there because I looked up what was in the movie beforehand and just being like, when's it gonna be? When are they gonna get to this? Because I kept being like, there's no way I could see writing it in. How are they gonna naturally implement it? And then it turns out they just don't.
They just don't set it up, and then they have it. It almost feels like voyeuristic compared to the other Alien movies, which is so strange.
It's a really weird.
So weird.
It's my least favorite scene of the movie. I would say. Not only
you could literally just cut it. No problem.
I was about to say, not only am I not a fan of having like nudity in a movie as much, but like it's pretty whatever.
It's whatever. Yeah.
In this movie. But like outside of that, the scene is so pointless and because of that pointlessness, it makes the fact that there is nudity in it feel a lot more cheap and exploitative.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it feels almost voyeuristic compared to even when there has been nudity in the other Alien movies. It hasn't felt like this. Like it hasn't just felt tacked on for like the audience's benefit, which is what this feels like.
And so you're like, what?
Yeah.
It was genuinely really funny getting to that scene 2/3 of the way.
I would have actually laughed in the theater. I'm so sorry.
Like out of nowhere, it was hilarious. This movie, going into it practically like blind for what it was going to be like, actually,
it's so funny.
Made it so funny.
And again, another like kind of fanficky like trope.
Exactly, having a bit more like sexual content in it for some reason is like just kind of tacked on as a very fanfic thing to kind of write in.
Again, it just speaks to how like kind of just sloppily constructed the whole thing is, which is really a shame because again, I like half of it.
No, I like a lot. Again, I like the individual ideas behind different things. I think the captain's character could be really interesting. They present really fun ideas with it, but they don't take them anywhere. I think the action scenes could be really interesting, but they don't really do much with them. I think a lot of the different themes and ideas and characters could be interesting. I think the shower scene could be really interesting.
No, in a
fun.
Different context.
In a different context, awesome. Done a little bit differently for the movie. You could have made it be one of the sickest scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
A real horror moment in a movie without a bunch of like horror moments.
Yeah, again, it's a lot more like scary action.
Yeah, again, I think zombie movie is a great way to describe it. It's that very much like it's tension not like, around waiting for an attack.
Not a lot of tension.
It's more when something is there, it is moving at you so fast and aggressively that is what's scary.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, wild stuff.
Very weird movie. I did not expect us to talk about it this long.
I wanted to ask. Though, we're not even into it, man. We're not even into it.
Oh gosh.
I did want to ask though, as a easy breezy beautiful question. Okay. Do you have a favorite scene or sequence? What would that be?
I don't want to say like the opening of the movie, like the little prologue thing that they have, which is cool.
Yeah,
like,
the prologue's cool.
It's got to be something with David. I don't know what I would pick specifically. Oh gosh.
Yeah, I have something if you want
me to answer you go quick. First. I don't have something.
I would do a sequence, not a specific scene for this. Okay. And I would do like the technical sequence of everything from when they first get into like David's actual laboratory to like really just that entire time in David's laboratory as there. I love that stuff just because I really like what it's getting into.
Yeah, it's kind of like a big sequence, that middle portion.
Yeah, there. Like all of the stuff, even with finding Shaw's like dissected body and all the papers and stuff and all the reveal and the captain's death. And especially the scenes with David and Walter in there. Like, having all of those conversations. I think that is when the movie is really excelling. The only other time
that's when it has me the most.
Yeah, really, honestly, I think that is the best part of the movie. It's trying to say things. It's doing things in a cool way. It's presenting cool mysteries. The reveals of how, like, far gone David is compared to Prometheus is really, really fun, because in Prometheus he's vaguely malicious. He's curiously evil.
Yeah, I was about to say, in the first movie it's more like he's just kind of like bored and curious rather than like actually maliciously set against the main people.
And like he ends up doing the one guy because like end up killing the one guy with the thing because, you know, he said he did say something extremely degrading to his like philosophy and beliefs.
Yeah.
But it still wasn't like, I'm gonna like stab you 1,000,000 times or something. Like he's not like actively malicious in that sense.
Yeah.
In the first movie, so to be able to get this slow reveal of how far gone he is in this movie,
it's a lot of fun.
Is really fun and really cool. And I love moments like I referenced in the opening Ozymandias, because I really love its inclusion in this because I think it's fun and I like the poem anyway. But like the stuff that you get into, the fact that David, like he gets both the meaning of the poem and the author of the poem wrong.
Yeah.
And it's just really fun. Like you actually feel like the text is saying something and doing something for a bit.
Yeah, no, it's really neat. I agree. I don't know what exactly I would pick, because like a lot of that middle portion is like where a lot of my favorite stuff is, but like it's all very like short, like spurts. They keep like cutting between different things. I guess I would, if I could just grab like one scene from this, it would probably just be the prologue, I guess. But like, I don't know.
Is pretty good.
That middle section is really fun. Yeah. I definitely, that would be like a runner-up if we're going to count that as a sequence.
Yeah, I was about to say that entire, like, it's a big stretch, the stuff that I'm talking. Essentially, up until like David and Walter's goofy fight.
Yeah. And once they like get the cargo thing down on the planet and like start to
from the neomorph attack to what's her face to Walter and David's fight is when you get into all of the stuff that I think is really interesting.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
Did you have another question then?
I don't know. We talked about a lot of the things that like I enjoy and dislike about the movie. A lot of the other stuff is just like, you know, like obviously I think the set design is really fun.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of really memorable like visuals and everything, like iconography. Like, I guess we could like talk about the engineers a little.
Yeah, I was about to say I had one more big question because I wanted to talk about David a bit more in depth. We had kind of glanced around David, but I wanted to specifically ask like what you thought of David as a whole in this movie.
Okay.
And how that, and you know, you can tie that into the engineers because I think that there's not too much to say about them, but there is some interesting stuff.
Well, I wish we got a bit more of the engineers in this.
We were gonna.
I know.
Paradise Lost, baby.
But I don't know. I think, again, since David is like the most captivating thing here to me personally, like the fact that he goes and like genocides the humans, like gods essentially, to like affirm his own god status is, I don't know. There's a lot of like really enticing like turns and twists to his entire arc over the course of this. And again, like the reveal of like just how kind of insane he's gone since we've seen him in Prometheus is really fun. Like that's one of the most like engaging and cool parts about this movie.
Yeah.
But like on a thematic level, I think just its general examination of like what it means to be a creator of something and like what ownership a creator has over its creation, what creation is entitled to from its owner, like from its creator. It brings up a lot of interesting dynamics.
Yeah, or even like questions about like God. Like what is godly love or respect or care for its creation?
No, and again, like it brings up a lot of those questions and actually feels like it has something to say about it with David's character throughout the different scenes where we like get all of these like monologues and stuff from David himself about what he thinks about it, you know?
Again, a lot of the interesting stuff with like him saying like multiple times kind of being like, oh, I loved Shaw. I really like multiple times that comes up in this kind of idea of what David views as love.
Well, and again, like his whole like inciting thing that made him go down this path is Shaw like repairing him after the events of Prometheus and him being so touched by her compassion, which he had never gotten from a human before.
Yeah, and how he kind of twisted his idea of love to the point that he ends up like dissecting her and using her organs to make xenomorphs.
Yeah.
Is like this there's a lot of really interesting, like David, especially being that we had more time with him, being that he's the only character that's carried through from Prometheus, and being able to get to see his arc and get to dig into his character so much more and have so much to say about him is just so nice in this movie. I really wish we would have gotten a third David movie.
Oh man, I would love to see it, even if it's just as like weird and messy as this one is. I would love to see it.
I was about to say you can even tie stuff into like, I always thought it was very interesting tying stuff, especially in this movie, into like biblical David and how biblical David is compared to like this David. A lot of his actions being rather malicious, murdery, even
murdery,
despite being like striving for God, essentially, which is very interesting. A kind of twisted perspective on David. And like I think there's so much just interesting stuff. I think the big takeaway between Prometheus and Alien Covenant in general is just that David is like one of the most interesting things the entire series brings.
Oh, absolutely it is. I would argue that maybe he is the most interesting thing in the Alien series. You know, like obviously I think Ripley's a really fun like lead and anchoring force for a lot of the movies, but like, I don't know. I would argue David is just as interesting.
Yeah.
To me, personally.
Yeah. But no, I really love his character in this especially. And again, like you said, it feels like it genuinely has something to say with him.
Yeah, no. And again, like all of my like intellectual engagement with the movie was during his stuff. Like that's when I felt like the movie was actually being like, oh yeah, we actually have like something we're trying to do and something we're trying to say, rather than just like, oh, here's a group of people that you don't really get to know who are being picked off by a very fast, scary, slimy thing.
Exactly. One thing that is interesting, though, is you mentioned the genocide scene with David. And I am actually really kind of sad we didn't get kind of a longer flashback or something with that, because it's kind of weirdly tacked on. He's like quoting the Ozymandias quote, and then like you get like a brief little thing showing him genocide all of the engineers,
like all of the engineers,
and it's this really like dark and scary moment with some pretty striking imagery.
And again, like the like shriveled husks of the engineers like grasping at the gates of the city is like one of the most defining visuals of this movie, maybe the defining visual.
I mean, again, what it is the poster essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
The shriveled up little engineers, because that's such powerful imagery. But I would say that specific moment is disappointingly one of the least explored things.
Yeah, it kind of just comes and goes.
The relationship with the engineers. And again, I kind of wish we would have been able to pursue the more Paradise Lost kind of route where they would have actually explored the engineers more, because I think they are really also super interesting characters and ideas.
Doesn't Prometheus open with the engineer?
Yeah,
like Prometheus, in the waterfall and everything?
Yeah, testing the pathogen to let it mutate his DNA.
Exactly, yeah. No, and again, I just kind of hoped, I guess, maybe ignorantly hoped that the engineers would be a bigger focus in Covenant.
Again, I mean, it was going to be. Yeah. That's the main thing that Paradise Lost was going to be about. Because the idea, I mean,
that's a good idea.
Where we end off in Prometheus is Elizabeth being like, but we still know, like, we can track their ship back to its original planet.
She's going to go find the engineers.
So we can go to the actual home planet of the engineers, and that's where you end off on Prometheus. And we go to their home planet on this.
Yeah.
But we don't really get to learn much else about them, how their society works. I actually think it's really funny to that like thing, because the only time we see them, it's just thousands upon thousands of them standing in a courtyard.
They're all standing an obscenely
there.
large courtyard, looking at a giant ship.
So that when David comes over and drops the murder bomb, they're all like, "Oh, look at that!
What's that?"
And like every single one of them is there practically.
Yeah.
Which is like really funny to me.
It feels
on
a bit
certain
silly.
level.
Yeah.
But again, it doesn't have too much to actually say, I think, about like the fact, like genocide, which was kind of disappointing to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of like, oh, David killed these to kind of usurp the throne as God.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I agree. I kind of wish the engineers were a bigger part of this. But again, with this script being the way it is, I don't see where on earth you could fit them in. Like, you would have to make the movie about David and the engineers.
Like what it should have been about.
Maybe like another additional character.
Walter and no, dude, if you had like Walter, Daniels, Tennessee, all of them could work really well in that script.
Yeah, exactly.
Just depending on how you implement
you just have to scale down a lot of the like human stuff in this, you know?
Yeah, it didn't need to be a 15-person crew. I think that's the biggest of like individual like crew members they try to introduce you to. Even in Aliens, I don't think they really treat that many people as like crew members you will know.
And again, James Cameron is such a master of writing big ensemble movies.
Definitely.
Like something like Titanic is a really good example of that.
Or even Avatar.
Yeah, or even Avatar. He does such a great job of introducing you to every single crew member like really quickly, and they're all really memorable.
Yeah.
He's just a really good screenwriter.
Fantastic at that.
Yeah, and that is not the case here.
No. But yeah, that's Alien Covenant. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Not really. I do wish that the like CGI just immersed me more. That's really the most annoying thing to me here, because like as disjointed as a lot of the movie is, like I wish I could still just have a bit more fun with it than I do now, because I just get kind of bored during a lot of the big sequences.
Yeah, which is unfortunate.
A shame.
And like, because that's my big takeaway that I want to leave like the audience with essentially is not that I think this is like the worst movie
I don't think it's bad.
I don't think it's bad.
I gave
it a 3.5.
Yeah, I gave it a 3.
I think it is a good movie.
Yeah.
The reason I really wanted to dive into a lot of this stuff is it just feels so, especially on a rewatch, it just feels like it really is chopped up and pulled this way and that, and all these little elements you're like, ooh, that's really interesting.
That's really interesting.
That's really interesting. But they don't ever really come together to paint a picture.
Mm-hmm.
Which there's a lot of painting imagery in this. even the poster of the movie is supposed to be reminiscent of whatever that one painting is.
No, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so there's a lot of painting imagery, so it's kind of funny to say that it doesn't come together to paint a very complete picture of any one thing. And that's really unfortunate, because it could have been one of my favorite Alien movies with all of the stuff that it is tackling and all of the goofy elements even. It didn't have to take itself as seriously as Prometheus. It didn't have to be about the engineers. It didn't have to not include as much xenomorph or alien stuff. Mm-hmm. It can do all of that, but if it was just together
if it just got its act together,
it would just be so much better.
No, and honestly, like, you know, it would be pretty hard to top the OG Alien, but I could see this like potentially being my favorite Alien movie outside of that, you know? Like if it actually got its act together, because David is such an interesting figure, and like a lot of the like the fact that you're on the engineer planet and like there's a bunch of really cool stuff happening, but like at the end of the day, I'm just bored for like half of the movie runtime, and that's just like unforgivable to me.
Yeah,
you know.
But I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm bored for half the runtime. I just think some things are like unengaging here.
Yeah. No, not that I'm just like 100% tuned out. It's just like I want this to be way more gripping to me. Like,
which is a shame because I think it's got some of like, again, the most memorable characters and imagery of the series. Yeah. I think there's some really stark stuff in the movie.
Yeah.
Even the back-bursting scene is one of the most like memorable looking of any of the alien birth scenes.
Oh, absolutely it is. This has like, I think even the one with David like greeting the little skinny
that's such a cool little beat.
That's such a cool like scene. I love that scene.
But it just doesn't fully merge. But
it doesn't come together.
If I was ranking this again, I gave this a 3.5. It's the same rating I actually gave Alien Cubed, if you will. But if I was ranking these movies, which I think I had talked about my rankings a couple times before.
Yeah, probably.
It would be Alien at number 1, Alien Special Edition at number 2, Prometheus at number 3, Alien 3 Special Edition at number 4, Alien Covenant at number 5, and Alien Resurrection at number 6.
Yeah, and I'm pretty much gonna ditto that. Like, I think Cubed is worse than Prometheus. Really, the only thing I would question is like, should Cubed be above Covenant or not? But like, probably.
I think it's a bit more solid. But I rated them the same thing. I gave them both 3.5.
Yeah, so. I would rate them the same thing as well. But yeah, no, I generally agree with your ranking. I do think Alien's the best one. I think Alien's like the better cut of it is pretty much almost on par. It's a different kind of movie though.
Yeah.
I don't know. Cool movie, I think.
Yeah,
Covenant.
Cool series.
Cool franchise.
It's been so fun spending this much time in the Alien universe.
Right.
Especially, like, I mean, I've mentioned it a couple times. I've played some of the video games too, and they're so much fun to just be in the world more, be in it more, like a really interesting, immersive way to engage with such an interesting universe that they've created.
Right. And again, like, Ridley Scott cares so much about, like, the actual, like, lore and, like, everything about the universe of Alien, that it's very rewarding to look further into everything. You know?
It's a very fun thing to have gone 6 movies with.
Right. Yeah, no, this was a lot of fun. This might be the like most fun I've had covering a film series, because like as cool as the Mission Impossible one is, like they're all pretty samey after a certain bit. Like they're all still good, obviously, but like with this, you get like very, very different,
very distinct.
Movies
it's kind of it's kind of in that same style where like early Mission Impossible movies, every director was different and
was
brought
like
very
adding their own flavor to it. Yeah,
but this one is so drastically even more extreme than that by having practically different casts every time, different settings every
ensemble,
time,
new setting,
different threats
director,
every time.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I love the Alien series.
I was about to say the closest similar feeling ones are specifically Prometheus and Alien Covenant, and they're the only ones that have like a certain thematic kind of connection in this specific way, even more slightly different than kind of even Ripley's through line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. Again, awesome stuff.
Whole series, check it out.
Love it.
Watch them all, form your own opinions.
Absolutely. If maybe there are a bunch of people who like Covenant way more than we do, and I
Tell us
generally enjoy it. Yeah.
I would genuinely love to see some readings that would make a lot of the thematic things that I think are muddled work more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, like I said, I want to love this one more than I do, but I just end up kind of, whatever.
But yeah, let's get into our What We Watch segment.
Hey guys, this is Robbie. Before we continue on to the What We Watched segment, I wanted to go over how you can enter this week's giveaway. We're doing a HDX digital code giveaway for the movie Alien Covenant, which we just talked about for like an hour. But I'm here to tell you how you can enter to win that digital code. So all you have to do is go down to the podcast description of the episode you're listening to right now, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, what have you. There'll be a link at the top of the episode description that'll take you to the letterboxed page for this episode. And on that page will be a Google form link. So again, go to the podcast description wherever you're listening right now and follow the first link in the description, and it'll take you to a Google form link. So once you're on the Google form page, just enter your email and name, and you can click submit right after that, and you'll be entered to win. Make sure you get your entry in before August 18th of this year, 2023, and we'll be announcing the winner on August 22nd, 2023, as well as sending out the email containing the actual digital code that you've won if you're the winner. So again, go down to the description, go to the letterbox page that's listed right at the top, and then go to the Google form link on that page, and you can submit your entry from there. Best of luck to everyone. Again, we're giving away Alien Covenant, which is pretty cool. Back to the episode now.
All right, so for those of you who are new to the podcast or have never made it this far or just need a refresher, the What We Watch segment is a fun little thing we do at the end where we talk about all of the movies that we've watched since our last episode, and we give brief thoughts and ratings and have fun with it. Talk about the movies.
So
our last episode came out on the 25th, so we'll be going from stuff that we watched on the 25th since we recorded on the 24th.
Yeah, July 25th, 2023, baby.
Crazy. We've been doing this podcast for like 4 years because we started in July, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe the Inside Out episode was in July.
Yeah, so this is our 4-year anniversary, I think, somewhere in here.
Actually, I think it was like a couple weeks ago.
Well, yeah, but like I'm saying, July is like our 4-year anniversary, I think, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Thanks for everyone who's listened through.
I wonder, like, if there are any.
No, look at that, July 28th. So it was like 2 days ago, 3 days ago.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Crazy. But anyway, on the 25th, I'll start us off since I have more. On the 25th, I watched Black Mirror Striking Vipers. Again, I had been watching through Black Mirror since the new season came out. I hadn't watched any. Striking Vipers was interesting. I'm kind of sad that people feel kind of middling towards it, but at the same time, I get it. I just think it actually does a pretty neat job exploring a pretty interesting concept to me personally. I think its relationship dynamics are really fun. I think it does a good job of being kind of dread-inducing with its pretty simple, like, conflicts, which is neat. And I think the performances are really great. Anthony Mackie, Pom Klementieff is here. That's fun. It's just I think it was a pretty fun, not amazing. It's not like mind-blowing, but it's cool. It's got a cool concept.
Nice.
So I gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Pretty cool.
I say good. Good movie.
TV episode.
Question mark. Parentheses. It's just asterisk. Then I watched Black Mirror Smithereens.
That 21 Pilots song.
Is kind of fine. Andrew Scott's here.
He's
doing Andrew Scott things.
That's funny.
And Topher Grace pops in at the end, and he's like, I'm Topher Grace.
Sounds like a great episode.
But it's really a forgettable episode. It's kind of boring. I wasn't a big fan. It has really nothing substantial to actually say about social media. And outside of that, the actual tension of the episode isn't all that interesting. So it was really kind of disappointing. You kind of knew where they were taking it. And it's one that I've practically forgotten about already. But it's still fine. I gave it a 3 out of 5.
Okay. And then we went out to the theater. To the IMAX theater, no less,
IMAX theater.
And we watched Oppenheimer. The new Christopher Nolan movie.
I was so excited for this.
For all you Barbenheimer
people,
we've now seen Barbie and Oppenheimer. I was going to say,
it took us like 7 days to finally make it to Oppenheimer. Or not 7 days, 4 days.
Yeah.
To finally make it to Oppenheimer since we were so busy. But man.
We watched it.
Oppenheimer. Dang. What a movie.
Movie of the year so far.
Movie of the year so far in my mind as well.
It's just like, I think Christopher Nolan's like formerly best movie, and it's definitely his largest movie.
Yeah, it's crazy on scale, and it's crazy that he pulled off what this is doing. Actually, structurally, again, the more I think about it, the more like kind of impressive. I feel like
it's
it actually is. The fact that it pulls off its kind of second act or third act complete switch of kind of what it's doing. And at the same time, it's so emotionally resonant.
Exactly.
It does a fantastic job of making all of these guys in rooms talking for 3 hours somehow super gripping and emotional.
Yeah, no, I think his dialogue still needs a lot of work.
His dialogue's a little embarrassing.
The way this thing is like structured and paced and everything is just amazing to me. Like I genuinely don't know how you would make something like this. It's crazy.
I put it in my review, and really the big thing that kind of blows my mind about this movie is that it genuinely made me feel scared.
Right.
Which literally I cannot think of a single other movie that has ever done that to me. Not horror movies, not anything else. I've had movies make me feel anxious. I've had movies make me feel restless, all sorts of different things from movies, but never actually scared.
This is a scary movie,
made me scared.
Yeah.
Which is very cool.
Yeah, no, I honestly I can't. It would take a Martin Scorsese movie coming out later this year to top this for me, probably.
Right. I wonder what that one will be like.
It's just a staggering achievement of like just solid filmmaking.
Yeah, this is one that I would say, if you're okay with the content that's in it,
man.
You should go out and see this in IMAX. I would say.
I didn't even talk about the score or the sound design.
This is
like, it sounds phenomenal.
We should just do an episode on Oppenheimer at this point. We're talking about it way too long.
Oh my goodness.
But this is like a movie you will be doing a disservice to see, like at home or on your phone or on a computer.
If you watch it at home, you need to see it with like headphones
and like good headphones.
Yeah, like with like amazing headphones or something.
But yeah, crazy. I loved the performances from Cillian Murphy and Florence Pugh.
This is easily my favorite role from Cillian Murphy. He's
really fun stuff. Yeah, I gave it a 5 out of 5.
I also gave it a 5 out of 5.
You can imagine it's from like the ranting and raving.
It's the best movie I've seen this year.
Yeah, I would say the same.
Pretty awesome.
Then on the 26th, I watched the 2023 movie They Cloned Tyrone.
I'm very excited to see this now because I watched like a portion of it with you. But it looks cool.
Which I didn't really know anything about going into it. I just saw that John Boyega was in it and Jamie Foxx, and I was like, oh, that looks...
Well, you knew that they cloned Tyrone, Micah.
I knew that they cloned Tyrone. In the title. Which I love how they implement that title actually in the movie. It's fun. But yeah, it's a very fun little movie. It's in that kind of I always forget how you actually say it. If I'm not mistaken, it's like blaxploitation is the like kind of subgenre.
I mean, that is how you say it. I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, that's what it would be. Which I've always been like, since I've just recently started actually watching some of them, it's been a very fascinating genre for me. I really love a lot of what they're doing creatively and artistically.
It's got a very interesting history. Yeah, exploitation films.
No, I've really enjoyed getting into them, like stuff like Shaft and things like that.
I was about to say Shaft is a big one that you've seen.
Yeah, that was really cool. So to see a kind of modern take on that kind of movie is interesting, but also it's made me really sad just how derivative this actually was. It didn't feel as much like a unique thing. Like it felt like you've seen almost everything that this is doing before. If you've seen something like, I don't know, like most of your like big blaxploitation movies, and like something like Sorry to Bother You or something like that.
Yeah.
And any given one of those is probably doing things a little better than this. But at the same time, this movie is really fun. Like that's the big takeaway, is the three leads are really great and hilarious and they have good chemistry, and it treats its premise and everything with just enough kind of comedy and goofiness that even if it's not the most interesting mystery and it doesn't go to the most interesting places, it's still just kind of fun to be in the movie.
Cool. I like I said, I was looking forward to it even back when I just heard the title, They Cloned Tyrone.
They Cloned Tyrone. Oh, also the soundtrack is amazing. That's the biggest thing that I've been
talking about the soundtrack.
I've still been just listening to the soundtrack like nonstop. It's so good. I love it. The song They Cloned Tyrone is fantastic. I actually have it going through my head right now because I said They Cloned Tyrone.
Pretty cool.
But yeah, it was pretty good.
Nice.
Even great, one might say.
Wow.
I gave it a 4 out of 5.
On the 28th, I watched a film called Blood and Black Lace.
Ooh. Ooh. Ooh.
which is not the vibe of the movie. It is about like sexual violence to a degree. It's
fun.
Well, it's an Italian horror movie from the mid-60s. It's largely considered to be like the second giallo film ever made, which is like this. Giallo means I think like yellow something in Italian, maybe just yellow. But it's meant to be like this mystery subgenre of film and like pulp novels.
Yeah.
So this is largely considered like the second big one of those in film history. So a lot of it's like about like women in the workplace in the 60s. Like that was like a big topic at the time. And a lot of the violence is kind of reminiscent of that. Like he's killing all of these working class like women. It's a really neat and like thematically rich movie, and it looks amazing too. I told Micah he really needs to see it, just because like it's honestly stunning how well directed and like atmospheric and gripping it is, which like pretty much every Italian horror movie I've seen is like, you know, like a big pillar of Italian horror.
Yeah.
And I've just been blown away every time I've watched one of them. But this one's no exception. It's lit like amazingly well. It's really well paced. The mystery's fun. The atmosphere's great. It's actually like scary. I don't know. It's a really good time. I almost gave it a 5. But like there's a few scenes that don't hit quite the way I want them to, but the twist is really fun. And like it's thematically rich and interesting. It's a really cool movie. Blood and Black Lace. Go give it a watch.
Go give it a watch.
Very cool. I gave it a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Then what did you watch?
And then after that, I watched a not quite as thematically rich movie called Bait, which is like a what's the name of that movie? Crawl. To anyone who has seen the movie Crawl, it's like Crawl but with sharks.
And no Sam Raimi.
But it is about Australian people, so I got to listen, even though it was not the best movie, I had to listen to a bunch of people with Australian accents, which was cool. That's the most American thing I can say. But yeah, I don't know. It's got a fair bit of like its own idea and like voice from an artistic perspective, but like it's just kind of bad on top of that. Like it's not like nearly as bad as some other like sharksploitation, I think is what the genre has been labeled. Yeah, there's a sharksploitation list on Letterboxd.
Oh my god,
that has this on it. It's not the worst I've seen from this weird like subgenre that Jaws has spawned. But like it is still kind of just boring, and like the characters are kind of bad. And the acting is a little subpar at times. Like it's not like bad overall, but it's just kind of like not that interesting.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. I don't know. There was a cute dog, so I had a good time. I gave it a 2 out of 5.
And then on the 28th, we rewatched Moneyball. Money.
It was my second viewing.
Second viewing for both of us.
It's really cool.
Very interesting.
I really
movie.
like Moneyball.
I'm not the biggest fan of Moneyball, but at the same time, I can respect a lot of what it's doing. I like its characters.
How can you not be romantic about Moneyball?
How can you not be romantic about Moneyball? See, I think that's my issue. I don't get super romantic in the movie. I don't like fall in love with the sport or what the movie's doing.
I don't know. It's a really cool movie. I'm not like a big Aaron Sorkin guy just because I haven't seen that much of his work, but like this is a really well written movie.
Yeah, no, I like a lot of like the script is really great, and I like a lot of like the stuff. I think it's a very good movie.
The atmosphere,
I think it's pretty great.
The atmosphere.
But at the same time, it's just not my favorite thing, really. I don't have any big complaints. It's just fair. Not like my thing.
Yeah, and a lot of the people I know who like don't fully love it are like, yeah, it's like a really well written and like well edited, and like, you know, like Brad Pitt's really good in it.
Jonah Hill's fun.
Like, yeah, like everyone seems to like at least enjoy it to a degree, but not everyone seems to love it.
Yeah.
But I really love it. I love the atmosphere. I love how like they use a lot of the visual storytelling in this when like during a lot of the silent scenes, and I love how the screenplay is structured. I love how it incorporates a lot of its real world, like because it's based on a true story or whatever. I like how include that like into the structure of the movie. It's a really smartly written movie, and I just admire it a lot. I gave it a 4 out of 5 though. Moneyball's a cool movie.
I also gave it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
Then on the 28th, we headed out to the theater.
Made our way to the theater.
Dragged by Robbie.
I'm so sorry.
Pulling us by our ears to go see.
I was excited.
Disney's Haunted Mansion.
Oh gosh. It's Haunted Mansion. They adapted my favorite ride again.
Again. For like the third time.
This is like bar none my favorite theme park ride, and now it has
3 feature-length adaptations.
Yeah. And this one is not good. Maybe the worst one.
Yeah, it's the worst one.
Yeah.
It's a shame too because I like the cast.
Oh, I love
the cast. Is really fun.
The cast. It makes me so sad.
Rosario Dawson, I think is how you say her name. She's great. Lakeith Stanfield's really great. Owen Wilson is really fun.
Dude,
even Chase Dillon is fantastic.
Chase W. Dillon is like really good here.
Tiffany Haddish is always fun. Danny DeVito is here. Jamie Lee Curtis is kind of here doing something.
I don't know.
Winona Ryder's cameo is pretty fun,
I guess.
Like it's a really
Dan Levy's cameo is pretty great.
It's a really great cast.
Yeah.
But it's just in almost every other way sucks.
It's just like a really awful screenplay, just like really terribly written, and like
it doesn't look good,
and it like is really visually like muddy.
It's not that funny.
It's not funny. Like this is the least comedic of all of them, which is a shame because you have such a great comedy cast.
No, like all of these people are comedic actors for the most part. And yet this is like such it's not a comedy.
It is straight up not a comedy. Being a comedy out of any of the Haunted Mansion adaptations.
Like it is a drama mystery comedy.
Yeah, it's like a dramedy mystery movie, and it's very, very little comedy.
But yeah, just not very good.
Boring.
It's boring.
Just so boring.
There's no reason you should go watch it.
No.
Not even for Lakeith.
I love Lakeith Stanfield with all of my heart. And I think he's like one of the most talented and charismatic actors.
He can't pull off these lines,
He cannot pull off this garbage screenplay.
He can't do it. They're like he's such a good actor, and hearing him deliver some of these god awful lines, I'm like, my
goodness,
oh, that's bad.
the like terribly shoehorned in product placement is the cherry on top of this terrible movie.
Oh,
I don't know, man. I've almost like lowered it to 1 star after thinking about it longer, but I did give it a 2 out of 5.
Yeah, and see, the thing is, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate the movie. I still had some fun with it and watching it in the theater, and I think I really would have actually had more fun if it released when I was in the mood to watch it, like some kind of holiday. Revolving around
some weird holiday,
October spooky
like
stuff.
Some macabre.
In fact, something that they might even reference in the movie, perhaps Halloween. It's a Halloween movie, Disney. Why is it releasing in July?
In the middle of the summer.
What is going... Like, I would genuinely have fun being like, oh, it's not good, but it's a fun Halloween movie. Because one of my favorite parts about Halloween is that, like, the feeling of Halloween movies. Right? Being able to sit down and watch a Halloween movie at Halloween, I'm like, yeah, this is freaking Halloween.
Yeah.
But you can't do that with Haunted Mansion. In the middle of
the summer.
It's July and it's blazing outside. Nobody's thinking about jack-o'-lanterns or spooks. Nobody's doing anything fun. And Haunted Mansion is the worst time in the world for it to release.
Yeah, honestly, like now that you say that, like any other time in the year, if there was even a hint of coldness out in the air, I'd be like, yeah, all right, I can kind of get with this. But no. Yeah, it's baffling. I don't know.
I gave it a 2 out of 5.
I'm so sorry if you're the screenwriters of Haunted Mansion. I want you to learn, please. Don't write another movie like this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I gave it, again, a 2 out of 5.
Yeah, 2 out of 5 for me as well.
Then we watched Alien Covenant for the first time on the 29th.
Yeah.
Gave it a 3.5, as you recall.
I gave it a 3.
Then on the 30th, I went back out to the theater and I watched, or rather rewatched, Talk to Me.
We talked about Talk to Me.
We talked about Talk to Me somewhat. We got to see an early screening of it.
Yeah, that early
which was very cool, but it just actually came out for mass theaters.
Yes,
and I wanted to take my girlfriend to see it because she loves watching horror movies, and I love watching horror movies with her. So we went out to the theater and we watched it, and it was really good. It was I think I enjoyed it a lot more on a rewatch than I did even the first time. I actually got more immersed in its horror, which I didn't expect. And a lot of the things I didn't like about the second act worked a lot better for me since I knew where it was going.
I'd be really interested to rewatch it, honestly.
But there's so much fun stuff in this movie. You should go watch this movie if you're okay with what's in it. It's so fun. Again, I got to watch that montage again in theaters, Robbie. That freaking montage is so
It's good. Magic. I love it.
And just the energy this movie has going for the first half is just fantastic. I still think it drops off, but I think it's just a little bit better the more you watch it. But man, when it is doing that fun high school, college age party scene,
it's a very Gen Z movie.
It is doing it for me. It is there.
Again, not in a derogatory way. Talk to Me is a very Gen Z movie.
No, it is very Gen Z. But one thing that was very funny in our theater was that it was packed full of kids. And a baby.
Why would you take children to see Talk to Me?
And also the adults were also super noisy, and it was kind of fun. It was not a bad crowd.
I don't mind a rowdy theater as long as everyone's on board.
There was a couple things that were a bit weird because there was a bunch of reactions anytime anything gross or violent happened.
That's
everybody was oh,
that's awesome.
Oh, and that was really fun. But also sometimes you would get a really sad moment, and a couple people in the audience would be laughing at it, and that was kind of unfortunate.
That sucks.
But it was really fun to be in a theater that was that engaged. I was surprised how full it was in the first place, but then to have everybody be that into it was really fun.
Right, when they could be seeing Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Plus we had a baby crying for half of the movie.
Oh gosh.
That was kind of rough.
I could not take it. On the 30th, I want to shout this out.
Wait. I give it a 4 out of 5.
Oh, okay. On the 30th, it's not a feature or anything, but I wanted to say that I watched the VR film In Utero, which
nothing to do with Nirvana,
unrelated to the Nirvana album of the same name, is a tie-in promo thing for Alien Covenant, and it's one of the Alien Covenant scenes, but you're in a VR POV of one of the neomorphs. And it's
the back bursting neomorph.
It's pretty cool. I don't know. If you like Alien Covenant, definitely go check out In Utero. It's cool.
Then also on the 30th, we sat ourselves down with our father yet again and watched Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Is there any other way to watch The Last Crusade than with your father, Mike?
I don't think so. I can't think of one.
What a funny movie. I forgot just how straight up funny it is.
It's easily I think the funniest overall movie of the series.
Oh, easily.
There's so many fantastic jokes. I forgot that the Brody cut was in this one.
So funny. Oh my gosh.
It's there's just genuinely moment after moment that is comedic gold from this.
One of my friends actually said this is the funniest movie about a quest for the Holy Grail.
That's really funny. They might be right. But on top of that, I still think the action set pieces are fantastic. I think the characters are really fun. I love Indiana Jones. I think I used to actually not be too big of a fan of Sean Connery in this. He never really clicked for me that much. You have
a weird anti-Sean Connery
stance. I don't like Sean Connery that much in general. I'm not on board for him.
I don't know his early stuff. I don't know.
I watched that one weird Irish movie or whatever with the leprechauns.
Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
I wasn't here for it.
He was not. I wasn't here for it.
But no, this time around I enjoyed his performance a lot more. It's still not my favorite thing.
He's got a really charming presence in this.
But yeah, it's a fun little movie, which is really a weird thing to say about this big of a movie, but that is the feel, is that it's a fun little movie.
It's a technical beast, even compared to the other Indiana Jones movies. But also it has such a quaint charm to it. I don't know. That's not quite there. It's not Raiders isn't quite as playful as this one is.
And it's not quite as weird
and
as
it's not
Temple of Doom.
Yeah, and it's not quite as, like, idiosyncratic as Temple of Doom is, but, like, it's really charming. I don't know. It's really sweet. Sweet movie, I think.
Yeah, I give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Give it a 4 out of 5. So many of my friends gave it a 5, but I just wasn't...
so close to a 5.
I wasn't feeling it. I don't know. I think it's really fun.
I gave it a 4.5, but it's so close to a 5.
I think it's fun, but I don't think it's quite there for me. But maybe that'll change. I want to watch it again, actually, because it's just a blast. I love it.
Well, then on the 31st, or rather today...
this very day that we're recording.
I was about to say that we're recording, so yesterday for all you listeners.
First day listeners.
I watched Black Mirror, Rachel, Jack, and Ashley 2.
Mary Kate and Ashley.
Which is, I was actually really looking forward to this episode because I thought it was a really interesting concept, and I was excited to see Miley Cyrus in it because I like Miley Cyrus.
You big Hannah Montana guy.
Big Hannah Montana guy, for sure. But I was really kind of sad to learn, especially with dealing with something that's as, like, reminiscent of a real world problem as, like, a pop star being stripped of all of her agency and abused by a parental figure. Sure, we have no real world comparison to that. I was kind of disappointed how juvenile it is and how it feels. It just is kind of like, I saw somebody describe it as if like a 17-year-old's version of a Black Mirror episode. And I feel like that's a pretty good like grasp of kind of what this is doing. Another good grasp of what this is doing is after they've done all of the stuff in the episode, the little Ashley 2 robot for some reason inexplicably has a little anarchist sticker on it for no like setup reason. They're just like, yeah, anarchist Ashley 2, yeah. It's just like it's like blatantly meaningless imagery that's supposed to be like, I don't know, that's the entire vibe from it. It's just not doing much,
just kind of empty.
But I still had fun with it, you know? I kind of struggle with, like, being super critical of Black Mirror episodes when they're actually doing something, like, different. I put that in my review for it, that, like, as long as a Black Mirror episode isn't doing the most boring Black Mirror episode thing, which a lot of them are, I, like, will still enjoy it. And I don't think every Black Mirror episode has to be some gripping, dark thing. I think there should be plenty of episodes, and there have been, that are much more lighthearted. But it's just, like, this one actively feels a bit dumb.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I get from it, unfortunately.
But I still gave it a 3 out of 5.
Cool.
And then we watched Alien Covenant again.
We rewatched it mere hours before recording this very podcast. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
But yeah, that's what we watched. Again, enter the giveaway.
Yeah, definitely enter the giveaway
if you want to watch Alien Covenant. I feel like we were kind of like, I don't know, not too hard on it because like it deserves criticism. But like,
no, you should watch it. You should
definitely
enjoy it.
Watch it.
I would really
if it
suggest
sounds
watching it if you're okay with the content that's in it.
Yeah.
I would shout out, you should go watch Last Crusade.
Yes.
Go watch Talk to Me in theaters if you can, because like supporting indie horror is awesome.
It's cool.
Watch Oppenheimer if you can and want to. Watch Barbie. Go support the theaters.
Go support the theater. Watch Moneyball too.
Watch They Cloned Tyrone. Nobody's watching that.
I really want to see it.
Is it released on Netflix right during Barbenheimer?
I was about to say, no one's watching Netflix movies right now.
But yeah, go watch some good movies.
Yeah.
Have fun. Enjoy life.
Have fun. Enter the giveaway.
Oh yeah, and enter the giveaway.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.